Hello friends, today I will talk about the history of the user of whom I consider one of the sickest users of the entire internet. The story of Matthew David Graham. Matthew David Graham, known on deep web as Lux. Matthew David Graham. A few years ago he was a very normal looking teenager, and like many guys in recent times he was a fan of the internet and computing. He lived in South Melbourne City at his parents' house in Australia, tall, thin, pale and with adolescent acne. In the year 2011, it was the year in which many YouTubers started to be born. Many bloggers reached the love, and the internet was consolidated as the platform with the most user in the last decade. In that year Matthew David was 18 years old and was on the cusp of graduating from high school. Outside no one could imagine his hobbies that Matthew David liked to search the internet. On the internet he liked to search for extreme material. Each more and more the obsession to obtain this type of material. In those days Graham would also begin to study nanotechnology at the university. Graham and his beginnings with anonymous. Already experienced Graham began to actively participate in internet-related events. Connoisseurs of the subject will remember that in 2011 one of the events that caused the most stir in the deep web occurred. The anonymous group of hackers announced in the famous 4chan operation called Darknet. It was one of the great events that occurred in the deep web, and that marked an hito in the history of struggles of Anonymous. This operation would consist of interrupting and taking offline a site of the deep web. This site was known for being the most big and cheeky, where child pornography was shared, and even his name was cheeky. It was called Lilitacity at the time. Lilitacity was a community of 15,000 child pornographers who have bought, sold and exchanged over 1,300,000 explicit images of children. Graham at the time, with only 18 years old, he wanted to participate in Operation Darknet. Getting from Anonymous's side, this is how Graham knowing the Lilitacity page. In addition to knowing the grotesque files, Anonymous's operation resulted in the leakage of the identities of various pedophiles from that page into public light. Although Graham affirms that he was spurring the efforts of Anonymous, also he began a descent to the most vulnerable part of the internet criminals. At the time, the impunity and the knowledge of Graham ever obtaining began to turn him into one of the most prolific providers in the world of extremely violent child pornography. Graham creates the Lux Users. Although Operation Darknet was a success for a short time, as several deep websites were won again, Graham was searching for websites hacked by Anonymous during Operation Darknet. But he saw that in the same 2013 gave birth to what he called Empire. These were web pages of the deep web dedicated to the CP and the hacker. These pages simply had no rules. Lux, on his page, hurt to the core, shared the cruelest material from deep web, but not only viewers who passed through his page cruel files shared, but also the pedophiles themselves talked to trade with children. Lux Closed Group. Those who created and shared their own and original material for the site were rewarded with promotion to an exclusive area of the page, a kind of closed group of hackers. One of the members of this group was Peter Gerard Scully. In fact, it was on the Lux page where the video of Daisy Destruction was shared. They also gave advice on how to attract a minor and kidnap her in a few steps. In fact, Lux had a preference for some users, rewarding the most collaborative and sick of that miserable place. The end of Lux. In September 2015, he was arrested and is now serving a sentence of just 15 years. He underwent a psychological examination and resulted in schizophrenic disorder of LKA. Very well, so far, today's video. I personally consider this one of the most aberrant. Take care, subscribe and remember that they